Our topic today is social media ROI reform. Measuring your hospital, the success of your hospital's social media efforts, but you can replace the word hospital with your business, with your professional practice, whatever it is. We're going to talk today about ROI and in social media and how in this day and age of healthcare reform things are changing. But first I'm going to start by introducing me. Hi.
Hi, Chris.
This is me. I work at Inova Health System down in outside of Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia. We are a system that is a 6 to 7 hospital. We're just introducing a women's hospital, so 7 hospital nonprofit system outside of Washington, D.C. I have my social media manager with me today, Shayna, over there. So she's the person who does everything. I work with Lee and Ferris and Ed and everybody on the Mayo Clinic Center for Social Media. I've also worked with 100 other hospital and physician practices. In fact, one of the Continuum Health hospitals I worked with before, and that was here at Beth Israel Medical Center. I've done some work with before. That's my blog. That's my Twitter handle, and I know tweets are going to come down way down this hour because I'm going to be speaking. And by the way, this is all of our social media stuff out there that we do for Inova. This conversation is not going to be specifically about Inova. It's going to be about social media in general. So, all right. Let's get started. I'm going to start off by saying I feel sorry for traditional media. And I said this last night. I say it every day. We're talking about how social media has changed everything. And it's true. And traditional media is just not getting it. They're just not catching up. And Paper Cuts was a pretty good website. I didn't know about that. It's kind of a sobering website to look at, but that's going to be, not that I'm going to go back. It's, in German, that's called Schadenfreude, where you look at other people's pain. I'm not going to do that. But let's talk about why traditional media doesn't really work that well, which we know. First of all, it's really bad with its timing. So I got a New York Times today on my on my door of the hotel, and every story in there is at least a day old. I don't know about you, but I don't like day-old stories, right? I want stories that happen now, right? I live in the D.C. area. I want to know what's happening right away. That's why I'm on Twitter. When I wake up in the morning, I check Twitter. I don't check the newspaper. In fact, I've never gotten a newspaper in my life. I worked for a newspaper. I didn't even order it. Traditional media does really good about broadcasting content, doing a one-way conversation. Well, that's great, but I don't like being talked to. Okay, I like talking with people. I went through elementary school and middle school. The teachers talked to me all the time. By the time I got to college and high school and college, then I was having a dialogue, and that's the kind of conversation I like. I don't know about you. It's also very expensive. You know what that number is right there? Anyone want to guess? What is that number? $114,174. What's that? Not my salary, no. Nice try. That's yeah?
A Yellow Pages ad?
Now, well, maybe a Yellow Pages ad. I know that's the cost for a full-color, one-page ad in the New Yorker. That's a lot of money. And I mean, when you look at our marketing budgets, we don't have that much money, or do we? And if we did, we'd want to spend it on that. And the other thing about traditional media, it's not personal. And we see it all the time, right? Where we see ads that are placed in a very inopportune place. It doesn't look like they're even targeting us. And then, as they're getting, that's kind of ironic, isn't it? I mean, what is that, But you also see now, people are starting to put QR codes on ads all the time, right? Have you seen that, right? And there's a great website, WTFQRcodes.com. I encourage you to go look at it, because it shows you where they put QR codes. I got an email with a QR code in it. That's the weirdest thing in the world. It's like, I'm already online. Why do I need a QR code? Anyway, so it's inopportune. So my point here is social media in this day and age makes sense. We've been talking about it all morning. We know it's changed the way we are. We use it all the time. We've been using it longer than we probably think we've been using it. But it makes sense for us. It makes sense for patients. It makes sense for everybody. We are about social media. Social media is the way we communicate nowadays. It's just a new way of communication. But of course, when I look at that, I think, well, does it really make sense? I mean, I think there's a lot of questions around social media, right? Why? That's the big question. This, I call this the social media flower, right? And it gets updated all the time. These are all different social media tools, and a lot of these no longer exist. Some of them do exist, whatever. But I look at this and I'm like, what, as a marketer, as a communicator, how do I make sense of this? And why am I doing this? What's the point? Why are we doing social media? Well, social media is different. And so what I did is I turned to the definition of social media, one of the most reliable online sources I can find, Wikipedia, right? And this is Wikipedia's definition of social media, done by these two great guys, Andreas Kaplan and Michael Henlon. It says, social media is a group of internet-based applications that build on the ideological and technological foundation of Web 2.0 and that allow the creation and exchange of user-generated content. Okay, let's break that down a little bit. Let's look into this a little bit. Okay, internet-based, I get that, right? It's on the internet. Social media is about the internet. We use it. It's extend that to your mobile device, right? Mobiles are, I guess, are considered internet-connected devices. Creation and exchange. Yeah, social media is about creation and exchange. We create content, we exchange it, we share it with people. I get that, right? Good. User-generated content. I love that about social media, is that we don't create the content. Everybody else creates the content. We're all using it. That's great. But I always get hung up on this. What does that mean? Ideological and technological foundation. What is that? So when I approached social media, and I approached it many years ago, I started to think about it differently. And so what I want to do is I'm going to share with you my definition of social media, because I think it helps to understand what we're talking about, and then it helps to frame how we're going to be measuring its success. First of all, two-way participation. Well, I pulled that from Wikipedia, obviously. It's a dialogue. It's two-way conversation. It's about transparency, right? The borders between us and the population, our communities, have gone. They know they know our business, and they're tweeting about our business when they're in our hospitals. They know about us. It's about credibility. There's a study that was done that showed that hospitals participating in social media show more credibility to the community. They expect us to be there. And that kind of dovetails onto what Ed was mentioning today about PricewaterhouseCoopers. People want us to be on social media, and if we aren't, they suspect something's wrong. Something's wrong with your organization if you're not. It's about trust. Social media is about trust. If you can't trust someone that's participating on social media, then you probably know what you're doing is you're talking to an agency, no offense to those people using agencies, or you're talking to a robot, those people that robotically promote stuff. Trust, it's building trust, and that leads into the humanization, right? It humanizes us. Thank you, Howard, right? It's about humanization. Social media is about us as people, as individuals. Shayna is the voice of Inova's social media. It's her. She communicates. She doesn't have a database that just automatically sends out stuff. She does it. And lastly, it's about communities of interest, and we've talked about that as well. Earlier, the two case studies right before lunch, they showed these communities of interest, the mommies, right, the mommy bloggers that are out there, or the diabetes groups, or the variety of different communities of interest around topics of health. That's what it's all about, right? To me, this is what social media is about, really. And then from here, I have some really nice, smarmy, tweetable slides that we're going to get into. Okay, you ready? There's no room for crappy products or service with social media. There isn't. You make a bad business decision, you do something wrong, you hurt someone in a way that's not right, people know about it. My first week at Inova, someone tweeted out that someone stole a baby from one of our hospitals. Now, it wasn't true, but they tweeted it out anyway, and I had to get to the bottom of that, because guess what? I want to know if someone steals a baby from my hospital. We were doing a code pink, and they misheard it, and I was able to share that online. See, that's transparency. That's what transparency means. Nothing about what we do is hidden anymore. And we talk a lot as hospitals and healthcare organizations. We talk about, a lot of times our marketing communications is focused on product, right? We have great doctors, right? Or service. We have the best HCAP scores, right? Or we have 5-star ratings in, whatever you get rated on. But that isn't what it is. We're building trust. See, people don't want to come to our hospital. People don't care about our hospitals. People don't, in our community, they don't like our hospitals. When they drive by our hospitals, they make a little prayer under their breath and hope they don't have to go there or their loved ones don't have to go there. Right? Another analogy I say is, I can fly, planes right now, you don't need pilots in planes. Did you know that? Computers take off planes and land planes, right? Would you ever fly in a plane without a pilot? No, we don't trust it, right? Trust. That's the cornerstone of what we're doing with our social media communications and marketing. We're building that trust. And if we don't have these fundamental things in place, then what's going on is we're losing the edge, okay? How many Facebook pages do I see where they're talking about their great doctors and their Makoplasty robots and their this and that, and who cares? I don't want a robot operating on me. I want to be able to trust that if my mother goes in for a knee replacement surgery, that she's going to get out all right, and she's going to be walking, and it's going to be okay, and they don't leave something in her body. That's all I care about. If you don't build the trust, and social media is a great way to build that trust. I call this the continuum of I don't care. And what that means is that the majority of people out here don't care about us, right? They don't want to care about us. They're healthy, whatever. And then there's some kind of health situation or their loved ones have something. Then they care somewhat. They're kind of engaged. Then they're going to research, what can you do for me? Do you have the right doctors? Do you have the right procedures? Whatever. And then after their medical treatment, they care a lot. They have opinions about us, okay? And so if you think about what they're doing, they're in this stage, they're not really getting it. They hear about it at parties, or they hear about, someone says, oh, don't send your mother to that hospital. My mom went there, that's bad. Here they're researching you, okay? And here they're sharing opinions. And you know what's interesting? These people that share opinions, they influence those people all the way over there, which is the weirdest, craziest thing in the world, because what's going on is these people now are getting influenced by these people who have opinions. And these people over here usually have either really good, strong opinions about you or really bad opinions about you. And the ones that kind of had an okay process, they don't really share their opinions. They're like, whatever, I got out of the hospital, who cares? Okay, social media allows you to communicate to all of these people in relevant ways, but you have to understand, you have to communicate them in different ways. Different people want different things at different times, and social media allows you to do that. And if you use social media the right way, you can actually very effectively reach these people. Am I keeping you guys awake? Okay, cool. All right. And the other thing to remember is social networks are how we connect. These are just tools to connect. It isn't the end-all, be-all. This topic of communities of interest are why we connect. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I talk to other type 1 diabetics online because that's my community of interest, the diabetes interest. Okay? I also have other interests, and I talk to those people. One of my interests is healthcare social media, so that's why I'm out there on Twitter. I'm communicating with you all. I love it. That's why we connect. Now, how do you apply this in the healthcare space? Well, we share examples. Here's one example that we did. We have in the DC area a website, and it's actually up here too. A lot of people use it. It's called The Bump, thebump.com. You ever been on that? Millions of people in the DC market are on that all the time, and they're asking questions about where to have their babies, who should they have their babies. Now, we could go create a Facebook page and try to, like the mom page, but they're already out here talking. And so what we did is when we first saw this, is the first thing I did is I started to get queries from it. And I realized a lot of people were asking questions about us on there. And they were, these are questions they're asking. This one's about, can they bring their sibling when they're having a planned birth? Because the sibling's sick, what's our policy, that sort of thing. Clearly that's written on our website. We probably also put it up on our Facebook page, a link back to that policy. But people don't go to our stuff to find that information. They're going here. And so what we first started to do is we started to communicate. And here's what I did. I don't know where you're having your baby, but here is information. And notice we were very clear. We weren't posing as someone. We're a Inova Health System. We're communicating with them. Well, we took this concept of this community of interest, and we started to build a repository of kind of questions that people were asking, common questions that are already out there that people can easily find, and we turned it into a website called myhealthybaby.org. This is a screenshot of myhealthybaby.org. And the content that's on this site was primarily addressed to those people on the bump that were asking questions. What are they looking for? What are the information they're needing? Education, etc. Okay? We put in a Find a Doctor button here. We put in newsletter join-ups. We put in a lot of different information here. And over the course of 6 months, look at that. We had 1,500 people click through to find a doctor. We had 800 people sign up to our e-newsletter just off of this one site. Now, what I'm sharing with you is a story of how we're starting to build a business case for using social media. The bump, people were talking about us. We created a site to address their questions. I'm able to measure what they're doing. See, there's a business side to social media. And for those of you asking questions earlier about how do you build the business case, how do you make sure you have people to help you with that, this is going to help you immensely. Okay? See, I live in DC and I know our business is changing, right? Healthcare reform, whatever it is, you know, we have to change the way we do our business. There's tightening insurance reimbursements that are really kind of driving down, making it very tight for us on marketing. I know marketing is the first place they go, right? Public reporting of outcome data. People know now what our dirty laundry is. It's out there. It's transparency. There's this shared risk model of hospitals, patients, physicians having to work together in a way to improve outcomes, make sure that pre-hospital stay that those patients are in good shape and that we're keeping them out of the hospital when we have to keep them out of the hospital, and then post when they go out of the hospital to make sure that that they're okay and that they're being compliant. This is a very important thing that's going to happen to us. And I just heard a guy from Thomson Reuters talk down at the forum, or the Healthcare Marketing Strategy Summit, and he said you got to go big or go home with healthcare reform, whatever happens. Now for us community hospitals, smaller hospitals, well, I'm in a big hospital system, but for those of you out there, sometimes you can't afford to go big and you can't go home. So what are we going to do? So what we have to do is we have to take all of this all together and we have to start looking at ways we could start to measure what we're doing in a better way. Now, this isn't a bad thing. I think a lot of people, when they're talking about healthcare reform, they get scared. My CEO kind of trembles a little bit when he's talking about it because he knows that business is changing. And a lot of times they say, we're going to have to dynamically transform our whole organization inside out. Well, we know that doesn't happen that quickly in healthcare, right? For us, fast is like 10 years. That's fast, right? So what we have to do now is we have to remember that our overall goal of what we're doing is to improve health, right? Bottom line, what we're doing is we're here to improve health. And we want to provide access to high quality care. And we want to provide fair access to high quality care. And in some cases, we do want to talk about the financial benefits of that high quality care. And in other cases, we're going to have to give out charity care. It's the nature of our business. We want to do this because we have a higher calling. We're here to help people. I got into this because I hated hospitals, right? I hated the way hospitals talked to me. When I heard hospitals market themselves, I thought there was something obscene about that. I didn't like hospitals. I almost died when I was 18, and I spent way too long in a hospital. And I don't want to go in a hospital ever again, but I am in a hospital now, which is kind of ironic. But I do this because there's a higher calling, and I would say that each and every one of us that are in this space are doing it because there's something higher here. We want to help. Preventative health is part of this mission, is part of what we're doing. But we need to be financially profitable. Don't forget that. We're in a business, right? We're doing business. And that brings me to pants. Well, I think pants are important. You're probably wondering why I'm saying pants. Because to me, I'm talking about financial ROI, return on investment. And I believe there's ROI in everything. And I believe, that contrary to popular belief, even in social media, there's ROI. Financial return on investment. Okay? So you want to hear about why I think pants is important here? Because I think there's ROI in wearing your pants. Right? Does anyone believe me, or does anyone want to challenge me on that? Right? What's that? Let me just give me a moment to explain. It's a fun story, but it's informative, right? Because I'm a guy and I wear pants. That's pretty intuitive and obvious, right? I'm in New York, I can wear whatever I want down here, but I wear pants in Northern Virginia. And I would say that, you know, on an annual basis, I probably spend about $1,000, maybe $1,200 on pants, because I like good pants. I mean, they're nice pants, you know. And I would say that if I stopped wearing pants and I just went into work, that my boss would probably very quickly call me into his office and ask me why I stopped wearing pants, right? And because we have a pro pants policy at Inova, right? And so, and if I refused to wear pants, I probably wouldn't be working there anymore. So the ROI of me wearing my pants is really my salary, if you think about it. And so if I take my salary and I minus the cost of wearing pants and I divide it by my cost of wearing pants, I can actually give a financial number to me wearing pants. And that's about, oh, I don't know, 9,900 times. Okay? That's the ROI of wearing your pants. But whenever I talk about ROI to people, I always feel like this guy. Do you know who this guy is? Anyone? What? King Solomon? What did King Solomon do? What is he famous for?
Wisdom.
Wisdom? Someone else said it over here. What? Who? The baby in half, right? Remember? The two mothers were arguing, this is my baby, and he says, well, you cut the, I know the answer, you cut the baby in half. And the reason why he said that, because he knew that the woman who really owned the baby would say, don't cut the baby in half, you take, the other lady can have the baby, because I care about that baby. But I feel like when I talk about social media ROI in this space sometimes, I feel like I'm asking people to cut the baby in half. And I'm not. I'm not asking you to do anything that's really unfathomable or you know, distasteful. I'm just asking us to be financially sound, right? There's no controversy here. We should all strive to provide the best care, provide the best relationships with our patients, with our community, but be fiscally responsible with marketing. Financial stability is the important thing here. It's really simple. I'm only talking about this. When I talk about ROI, I'm not talking about the other things. Those things are very important to what I do, but this is ROI. Okay? Because it really is. If there's no margin, there's no mission. And there's nothing more devastating than a hospital that's not fiscally solvent, that has to shut its doors. Talk about the impact on the community. That's horrible. Or talk about you know, when a large out-of-state for-profit company comes in and buys that hospital and dynamically changes the way it involves in the community. That's horrible. We have to be fiscally sound because we have a mission to have. And we want our jobs. And we want to do it better. I don't know about you, but I want to do my job better all the time. And I can only do that if I can prove that what I'm doing is worthwhile. So where's that ROI? And that's where we're getting to. That's what this conversation is about. All this is leading up to this, right? Talking about financial return may seem cold and callous, but we have to talk about it. Okay, but let's talk about ROI, because I've heard people use that term this morning, and I'm not calling anybody out and saying they're incorrect, but they use the term ROI incorrectly. I hear it being called ROR, return on results, or I've heard return on opportunity, or I've heard return on engagement, right? Return on action. Likes accumulated from Facebook followers, maybe, is another one. Time we invest in Twitter spam. I mean, these are great acronyms, but this isn't ROI to me. This is not ROI. ROI is, you know, is not related to these things that we can measure. Yeah, sure, we can measure friends, fans, and followers, reach, relationship, reputation, strengths, and there's a website here, by the way, if you want to go to, that you can find 100 ways you can measure your social media efforts. But where's the ROI? There's nothing in there about financial return on investment. ROI should always be tied to dollars. When you're using the term ROI, I make a plea to everyone. Only use it when you're talking about money. Because guess what? Your CFO only uses it when talking about money. Your CEO uses it only when talking about money. So if you come in and you say, my ROI of my thing is that I had so many people watch a video, your CFO is going to say, yeah, nice, right? So this is my friend Chris Bevelow at Interval Chris, and he says it really succinctly. Social media ROI reflects any other marketing-related ROI. the net financial revenue to the organization from the effort after having accounted for the effort's cost. Financial, money, dough, bottom line, coin, or as I like to call it, ROI. ROI. This is what we're talking about here. And I'm going to jump back here and I'm going to show you something. That's the formula. Everybody write it down or tweet it out. That's the formula that we're talking about. Your financial gain, or in some cases the savings that you've done, minus your cost divided by your cost. That's your ROI in every case. And now I'm going to show you how social media in every case can measure that. Because I looked at 3 ways that we can measure ROI that's in alignment with that whole thing I talked about where we talked about social media. To drive growth goals is number 1. To lower our costs is number 2. And the third way is this one, which is very tough. Increase satisfaction and loyalty. Let's start with number 1. Driving growth goals. That's a pretty easy one to think about because that's when we think about traditional marketing. It's driving people in that pay money. Okay, we all have patient choice, elective procedures where we're trying to drive people in. Profitable services with profitable patient revenue, right? How many here have a bariatric program? Right? That's what we're talking about. How many here have sports medicine, joint replacement, right? That's what we're talking about. In some cases, we can even talk about some cardiology services, right? There's some profit behind this. Cardiac surgery, there's money behind this. Spine surgery. Okay, I know we don't like to talk about it. It makes us feel squishy and weird, but it's true. And if we have great services, why aren't we offering that to people? So the first way I'm going to talk about is how we can measure this and use social media to measure this. First of all, what I do in this case when I look at measuring this piece is I use social media as a way to get to places where I can actually measure conversion. Now, a lot of times traditional marketing, what we do is if we want to promote these patient choice driven services, we provide webinars or seminars, or we provide ways for people to engage with the doctors or maybe come in and meet with the nurses. It's really, I mean, the real care occurs when they're in front of that clinical person. I use social media as a way to drive them there, to bring them there. Okay? We've got to use tools to measure attribution. Attribution means, did Facebook lead to someone to sign up to your webinar? And if they sign up for your webinar, how many of those people that came from Facebook actually turned into patients? That's attribution. It's really leading fans to convert, to opt in and provide information. Now be very careful. Remember I told you about talking in a relevant way to people? Not everybody's going to respond to this. Okay? But those that do are people that are really interested in this. The OB people, the My Healthy Baby is an example here, right? And you need to measure your results. I'm going to give you an example. Bariatric growth. That's actually a really easy example. We actually use Facebook audience in Northern Virginia. In Facebook, you can actually do pretty good targeting. Now, despite what GM did just recently where they pulled out of all their Facebook advertising, and I understand why they did, we do targeted advertising to Facebook audiences, to people that actually are interested in weight loss, that maybe put diet in their status updates, or they say they want to lose weight. We put a message there that says, are you looking for options to lose weight? We have some solutions for you. We created 2 ads that promoted that. Now remember, those ads on Facebook appear over on the side here, where people can click on. And we directed that ad to this landing page where it let them choose which way they wanted to go, what they wanted to do. Now we didn't only offer bariatric surgery. That's not for everyone. In fact, in many cases, they didn't have to do bariatric surgery. We offered one, you can't see it, it says weight loss services here, where it's actually a medically managed weight loss program where you're with nurses and you help them and there's exercise involved and you send them to classes and you work with them. And, you know, but there's also bariatric surgery for some people. Here are the results. This is just from Facebook now, okay? Over a 3-month period. We had 300 clicks. Not bad, right? We had 30 people from those 300 clicks sign up for a seminar. And of those 30 seminar registrations, 23% of them converted to surgery. Okay, again, now I was able to measure the Facebook people converted to surgery. Since I have an average $3,000 contribution margin from surgery, this is the profit originated from this 3-month campaign. Now if we go into it, we can actually start to use the ROI formula to see that's our gain, that's our cost, and so we do the formula and look at this. 1,340% ROI from a Facebook advertising campaign using social media. We also have been measuring how many people click on just our status organic Facebook postings, but our generic Facebook community is not addressing towards weight loss. So we're looking, actually investigating and building a weight loss Facebook community out there and seeing if we can promote our services there too. We're not there yet. But look at that, 1,340% ROI. And when I went back to the service line director, you know what she said to me? She said, I want you to do that and I want you to do it 10 times as much. Okay? That's money. Now, I said to her, actually, it was fiscally responsible. I said, we multiply it by 10 doesn't mean you're going to get 10 times as many people in here. There's a market saturation point, so we played around a little bit, and we found out that it's more than the $479. We're doing about $1,500 a month now in Facebook advertising. It's working pretty good. Now, I know what you're thinking when you're looking at this page here in this slide, right? You're thinking, wait a second, you didn't tell me there's going to be math involved. Right? We're not in the math business, are we? Right? Who here, like me, has a degree in mathematics? Very good. One other person. So the two of us, what's your name?
Mary, and I love math.
Mary, you love math. I love math too. You and I are in seventh heaven right now. Everybody else in the room is going, I can't do math. Well, you know what I always say to people, and I don't mean it in a nasty way, but what I say is if you don't know how to do math, don't worry, your successor will. We as marketers have to learn how to do math. So if you are uncomfortable with ROI formula, it's a very simple formula. If you're not comfortable with this, you're not comfortable with trying to architect this out, don't worry, you can learn. We all can learn. We balance our checkbooks all the time. We know how to do math when we need to do math, and we have to in our business now do math. Okay? Now I'm going to go on. Any questions on that, by the way? On the math part? Okay, I'm going to go on to the second piece here, which is lowering costs. That's another way we could prove ROI of what we're doing. We can lower costs, we can improve results, right? With us on social media, it's a great conduit. First of all, most of it's free. I mean, it takes time. I'm not saying Shana works for free. She doesn't. I pay her. But it doesn't cost to be out there unless you advertise. And you can do things in social media that allows you to take advantage of the fact that almost everybody's on Facebook now, and almost everybody's out there on, using these tools to interact. You can aggregate and populate your content to many sites. You can complement or replace your traditional media with lower cost solutions, right? We did seminars where we invited the community members to come and meet our doctors, and they talk about their topics, which is great. We get 20 people at a time. It was pretty good. But we filmed it and we put it up on YouTube, and we have links on that YouTube page and bringing them back. And guess how many people are now watching that doctor talk? Many, many more than were in that room, in that auditorium. And it costs a lot less. Trust me. Putting a video up on Facebook is a lot less than renting out a room like this and bringing people in and feeding them. Right? Train others to assist with your social media efforts. It's only Shana and I. I know we had a question earlier how many people are in the Mayo Clinic Center. There's only 1.5 of us. I'm not even a half. I'm more like Ferris right here. I'm a 0.1% because I have all this other stuff I have to do. But what Shana is really good at doing is she's helping to distribute this. Other people like to use social media. We just have to train them the right way on how to use it and train them on ways that we can work with them to have social media align with their business goals, whatever those goals may be. That's a big, important part of what she does, and she's a great trainer. We need to encourage patients to tell their story. User-generated content. Give them venues where they could talk. Let them have a conversation with you and encourage them to talk about what their experience was, good and bad, because that's going to help. And make sure you measure the money you save. Now here's an example I'm going to give you from another hospital system down in North Carolina. They built a blog. Mission Health built a blog. The blog that they built was actually to replace a newsletter that they printed and sent out. Okay? This happened to be for an internal communications purpose, by the way. This was for their employees. They created a blog to replace their print publication. The good news is that they were able to measure ROI from this. Let me show you. From just printing costs alone, they saved $81,000 a year. That's, I don't know about you, but I can hire someone for that amount that does social media, right? Just by launching a blog, they were able to save this in just printing costs alone. That's some revenue there. But moreover, now that you moved them from print to online, guess what? You can also measure, right? You can measure engagement. Look at that. 14,000 page views a month, 5 pages per visit, 3.52 minutes average time on page. That's engagement. That's huge. And this information is very important as you're building your business case, right? That not only are you saving money, you're able to measure engagement, and you're able to measure what's right and what's wrong. So saving money is a very important aspect of what you're doing when you're measuring the financial ROI. You guys all with me? Okay? Am I talking over your head? I'm going to play the ukulele soon. Don't worry. Bring it all back down. Okay, so let's talk about this one, because this one's the hardest one. How do we measure this? How do we measure that? That's the hardest part. When we talk about patient satisfaction, we talk about how are they going to stay engaged? And we could say not only patient, physician satisfaction. For those of you that have to build a referral base in the community physicians, we have that too. How do you build that satisfaction? How do you build that loyalty? How do you build that long-term engagement with people? I mean, social media is a lifetime process. They engage with you in many different ways. Remember the continuum? It's all through the continuum. What we're really talking about is something called the lifetime value of the patient. How many have heard that term? How many know what their lifetime value of the patient is for their hospital? Notice all the hands went down, right? Right? So I asked we have a primary medical group that we employ. I asked them what's the lifetime value of their patient, of your patient. And the chief of the medical staff looked at me and he says, well, we make about $80 every visit. I was like, no. What's the lifetime value of that patient? I mean, you spend all your time trying to get patients in the door, and you keep seeing those patients, right? It's not one and done. They just don't come see you and never see you again, right? What's that lifetime value of that patient? Well, we have to determine that equation, and as marketers and communicators, understanding the lifetime value of the patient is very important. And that's why we have to actually count on more tools than just these little examples that I gave you. We have to start looking at the way we measure, and this is where the reform of our ROI comes in. First of all, there's this concept called inbound versus outbound communication. Do you guys know what that means? Have you heard that? You know about HubSpot? Have you heard of that? Can anyone give me a definition of what they think is inbound versus outbound? Okay, back there.
But instead of pushing out your advertisements on TV or on the radio, you're creating interesting content so that people come to you and they read it, and then you have a call to action, and you generate.
Okay, so what she said, just so for those of you maybe not able to hear that, instead of pushing out content through TV and radio and billboards and print and online, what you do is you build compelling content for people to come to you, to learn about you, to engage with you. And when they do, you build an engagement with them. You let them opt in to get more information, sign up to your newsletter, learn about your Facebook page, fan your Facebook page. You start having a relationship with them, and you build that content. It's really content-driven marketing. And you want to build and measure that engagement instead of growth. Okay, now this runs counter to the first part, right? The first part's growth, which is important, but this area we're not really focusing on growth. We're focusing on engagement. Okay, and now I'm not talking return on engagement because that's not ROI, right? I'm talking about building engagement. And then we adopt something called a CRM to measure patient and physician loyalty, a customer relationship management database. And many of you have one of those, right? Right? Maybe you have some Excel spreadsheets, yeah? And an EBS, an Excel-based system. CRM is very, very important to measure patient satisfaction and physician behavior, because what you can do then is you can start measuring every interaction they have with you and learn what they like and what they don't like. Maybe they don't like direct mails sent to their mailbox every day. Maybe they'd rather have an email that they get. Or maybe they'd rather just come and get that content from us on their own behalf. Whatever it is, you want to be able to start to measure that behavior through the process. You also want to focus on building the lifetime value of your patient. Okay? This is really what it's about. It's understanding how that patient interacts with you pre, during, and post, and understanding how that all plays together. So let me give you some examples here of how you can do that. First of all, remember those people that don't care? They care about things, they just don't care about what you've been talking about, right? They care about wellness, they care about fitness. I think everyone aspires to be healthy and fit, but they don't aspire to have a Da Vinci robotic surgery. So you start talking about, and what we do with our Facebook page is wellness, fitness, health, things that are relevant to them. Our Pinterest page, that's all our boards are about, is about wellness information, good recipes, you know, things you could do, exercises, sports classes you can take. And a lot of people follow those things. You can also use clinical staff and doctors and nurses to build trust. Okay, it's no longer about, look at me, I'm a doctor, I'm board certified, yay. What it is about now is about using them to help build the trust, to share their expertise, their knowledge. Sort of what like Howard's doing all the time, right? Where he's sharing his expertise around orthopedics in order to build trust with his patients. We assist with the patient education and compliance. Social media is a great place where people can go for support groups after they be discharged from the hospital. We have a couple of support groups for rehabilitation. We're looking at building that one for bariatrics I mentioned. But also on the front end, how do you give them healthy information to help them prevent coming into your hospital if they don't need to? You know? And when you're measuring ROI, you have to think about something that's not really causal behavior, it's correlated behavior. And what that means is it's not a direct causation. It doesn't directly bring people in. What you're doing is you're helping build that lifetime engagement with your patient. So all the activity you're doing is correlated to that behavior. I'll give you an example. I give it all the time. I love it. I think it's one of our most successful marketing programs. It's the Fit for 50 program. This is what it currently is. It's a seasonal program that we do around fitness, but it goes all year round. It's an ongoing sustainable life cycle campaign around fitness and wellness. We have had, to date, 7,300 people register on this site, actively engaged in our site, of which 600 of those almost are Facebook followers of ours. Maybe that's even more now. Who knows? And what's funny is about half of these Facebook followers don't go to our website. So this is a whole other community of fitness and wellness. It's all about wellness. It's all about fitness. It's weekly tips on how to stay healthy, on how to stay on top of the game. And we have video interviews with doctors that say, well, you know, if you're going to have surgery, you might want to lose a little weight because if you're too overweight, we can't do some serious surgery to you. You know, or we talk about, you know, what are some good practices, you know, to stay, when you're sitting down, how to keep your spine healthy, right? So you don't have back pain all the time. Look at this. In our CRM, of those 7,300 people, 5,000 of those, we got updated contact information for them. That's very important. We want to know who those people are. But we get 2,300 entirely new people that were never engaged with us before that are now part of us through this wellness program. And what's great is as they sign up to this program, I get their name and their address and information so we can engage with them. And guess what? Now we can measure them. And I get great demographics about who they are, right? I understand who they are. And I know where they're coming from. I know more than this. I know what zip codes and where cities they're coming from. I know how much money they make, and I know what gender they are. And I mean, it's like, this is engaging, this is good stuff. And I look at this, I'm like, yeah, this is our target market. Yeah, absolutely. This is who we want to be promoting this stuff to. And I use it to cross-promote other services, to learn about our fitness and wellness programs. So we cross-promoted them into other wellness newsletters, e-newsletters that are conditional specific, like Heart Smart newsletters, or Healthy Breast Cancer, or whatever they are, a variety of different things like that. We engage more than 100 physicians. We use this site as a platform to position them in the market as people where you could build trust. One of that aforementioned chief medical staff guy of our employed physician group, he's a Tai Chi master. We have a video of him doing Tai Chi instruction and talking about how that helps save with stress, because in this day and age, in the olden days when you were upset about something, you were able to fight people and hit them. But you can't hit your boss anymore. So he says, do Tai Chi because it's really good. And he's doing these things. He's my doctor too. He's really cool. And he's doing these Tai Chi stuff. I'm like, this guy is just out of this world. And and he didn't want to talk about that, but he is now. We use this program as well to help with our B2B efforts. So we have a whole business-to-business health and wellness. Some of you may have that, maybe going into that. This is a big part of what we're using the Fit for 50 now. We're using that program to educate when we engage with hospitals, other businesses, and say, we want to be your sole provider of healthcare services. And by doing that, we're going to give you access to this fitness program. And we're looking at actually customizing it and providing specific instances on their website, just sending content to them, although it's out there. And we're able to measure life-to-date utilization of people on this site. Now, this is the money part, right? So, of those 2,300 people, contribution margin of those people right now is $38,000. That's profit, right? Contribution margin. Former patient contribution margin is about $274,000. Okay, now you may not think that's a big number, but this program is only a year and a half old, right? This is a fitness and wellness program to get any money at all. Now I look at this, these people are patients of ours already, so I'm not taking credit for that. Maybe there's some correlated behavior here. But these people who never knew about Inova before, better believe I'm taking that as credit. Right? That's the correlated versus causal ROI here. And that's how I believe as we move forward, we should start looking at when we're sharing and we're communicating, we could start to really embrace health and wellness. This happens to be a screenshot of the new website we're going to launch at the end of next month. You got a sneak preview of this. Okay, check it out. This is our new website, and notice health and wellness right up there. Do you see that? That's important to us. It's so important it's on our homepage now. It's going to be on our homepage. And when they click on that, they're going to be able to get this information where they get wellness on demand. What kind of wellness information you want now when you need it. You could sign up to our newsletters. You could get daily updates of things. This comes out of our health library automatically. Here's Fit for 50. Maybe they can want to do a health class. Maybe they want to learn about classes and events. Anything that we have a fitness and wellness program, because we don't have a comprehensive wellness program for our hospital. We have a bunch of pockets of stuff. We're sharing it here and letting you experience that and jump into it. That's how important this lifetime value of the patient becomes to us. We want to draw people in and engage them early on, right? Because if we look at this paradigm, this continuum of I don't care, we have all these different ways we could start measuring our ROI. All these different ways down the continuum of the care. And that's what ROI means to me. And I care so strongly about it. I wrote a song. And I'm going to play it for you. Let me drink a little something here.
A coffee or vodka?
A little bit of both. Now, I debuted this last October in Rochester, and at the time my voice was really raw and scratchy, and I'm not a singer, I'll say that right up front. I only had the ukulele for a month then, so now I have it for 6 months. So I like the ukulele. I'm really an upright bass player, though. This is a lot different than the big upright bass I usually play. But I'm going to play. I'm going to sit down. I want to sit down here so I don't drop the ukulele. And I'll just show you how it goes, and then maybe if we really like it, we can sing along for the second verse all together. What do you think? Huh? All right, let's do it. Okay, I don't play like the Tiptoe Through the Tulips ukulele. I like the old-fashioned raggy style, you know, catchy, isn't it? Let me show you how it goes. Social media ROI. If you're not gonna measure it, then why you even doing it? It's easy if you try. Just like your marketing, you should be measuring everything. You put your metrics in a chart. Oh, that's the old word, sorry. It's simple and it's a start. The social media ROI. Press your CFO. It's the only way to go. Think you guys can follow along? We'll sing the new words. I just made this up last night, the new verse in there, so. Okay, one more time and then we'll sing it, okay? And this is gonna go on YouTube. Okay, ready? Social media ROI. Come on, just sing along. If you're not gonna measure it, then why you even doing it? It's easy if you try. Just like your marketing, you should be measuring everything. Use a CRM to help you out. It's simple, so let's try out social media ROI. Impress your CFO. It's the only way to go. And that's the end of the show. All right, questions? Thank you for singing along, by the way. Question? You're not embarrassed, are you? Yes.
In the slide where you talked about moving, I'm Jonathan Streeter from the New York City Public Hospital System. In that slide, you talked about moving from this print newsletter, like for internal communications, to this online system, and your content creation costs magically went to zero. We'd love to know how to spend no money on content creation.
Well, those are just printing costs we're talking about. Content creation costs weren't even.
So you don't measure the cost that.
I'm just saying savings from printing alone. Content creators, they were creating the same content.
Okay.
They're using the same amount of time. That stayed level. What happened is the printing cost alone dropped. Actually, they were replaced by this, which is setup fee maintenance. That's it. So content creation is still there. We still do that. We still create content. So it's not funny math. It's actually, it's the same amount of work. They're still doing the same amount of work. They're just doing it now online. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to point out I'm a Spanish major.
It's okay. It's okay. That's a good question, though. I mean, we're still going to do the work we do. We're just doing it better, more efficiently, right? And we're doing it in ways that are cheaper. Right over there.
How do you get your message out there or your content to bring people in?
How do we create that good content that brings people in?
Mm-hmm. No, I know how you could create it, but how do you get the awareness out about it?
Of social media, of what we're doing on social media and all the different things that we do? Well, partly is people are already out there. Okay, so remember that. But what we have to do is we have to create compelling content so that if they see it in their friends' news feed, they click through and they learn more and maybe they fan us or they follow us. But another way that we actually promote our social media is we obviously add it everywhere. We have it all over our website. We have it through our print materials. When we're at gala events with our foundation, they're handing out cards that have our follow us online. We're really promoting it very hard. We also, the media has picked it up and they've made some stories about us and they talked about how we're doing it. And whenever that happens, we always get a boost in some kind of content, whatever. And all of our marketing and PR people use it. So we have different Facebook groups for every hospital that we have, and our marketing PR people for each one of those hospitals are using it to promote out in the community through community events or what have you. So every other way that we're already interacting with the community, we're sharing with them all of these resources. So that's how we get the word out. Is our growth sky high? Is it keep going straight up? No, it's slow organic growth, but it works really well. Come on, there's some questions. But in the back.
Management tool are you using?
We're currently using a CRM tool called CPM. CPM is the tool. That's what we're currently using, yes. There are a lot of CRM tools. In fact, the guy speaking after me represents one as well. But there are a lot of different CRM tools out there. There's a number of them out there. And there's a variety of different ways. And the best CRM tools are starting to embrace how do we measure all of this through the whole continuum. Some of the things that I shared with you, we had to manually do. It doesn't automatically come with our current CRM provider. Yeah, so. Is it more than just me and Shayna doing social media? Yes.
I'll do it.
Yeah, you do it?
Do it. No.
Here comes the question.
I actually wrote this as a comment, so I'm trying to remember what you said that made me write this. But I believe it was you said something about hearing something or reading something in the newspaper, and it's old, basically, and you would have already learned about it on Twitter.
Sure.
Okay, so since we're talking about healthcare, social media,
yeah,
and we're talking about existing conditions, chronic problems, it doesn't get old. They're not dictated by
Absolutely.
trends or hot topics. How do you capture the good information that a lot of these healthcare systems are looking for to identify those trends to make sure that you are addressing the needs of patients?
And well, one of the first things, and that's a really good question, how do we know where the right content is and how do we get that content out? And it's not news information like traditional media does. I agree with you 100%. first of all, you have to understand that we're a hospital and we have really good doctors that know their stuff because they're providing good quality outcomes. So one of the things that's really, really important for us is to use those doctors, leverage those clinical relationships to try to get them to participate in these places. But they don't do it, quite frankly, right? They don't really do it as well. I wish we had a Howard and a Mike on our staff, but we don't have that. We have a couple that are really good, but not always. So we also can leverage on a variety of other sources. One thing that we're trying to do with our Facebook pages and our social media pages is become really the place where people go to turn for health information. So what we do is we aggregate third-party news and information that's happening in the news on our social media sites to share the latest studies, et cetera. That has actually gained enough attention where our clinical people are now responding and saying, wait, we want to have a commentary about that, and we love that. We're excited about that when we can do that. They usually have to have something to throw up on in order to react. That's usually how doctors work. No offense to all the physicians in the audience. So we also have a health library. Obviously, we use a health library on our website. That's a way that we can actually source information and pull it out, just generic information. But really, the ultimate goal is to get the patients themselves to start talking about their conditions. So focusing on having the patients interact with one another, share their information through support groups, what have you. That is really the way that you're really going to gather that attention and have them talk about it. So the people on the bump that are looking for information, they're now spreading myhealthybaby.org as a URL to go to get information themselves. I love that because that's really the true way to get that information out there. So, I mean, it's a combination of all of those things. You know, Shane and I are not medical experts, so we would never profess to be one on social media either. So we have to kind of leverage our resources that we have. That's a hard thing sometimes. Good question.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Oh, right back there. Yes. Wait, here comes the microphone. Hold on, you're going to be filmed.
Hi, Rachel Garrett from the Visiting Nurse Service of New York. So do you focus your campaigns on your highest margin programs or just the programs that you think will have the, are trending, the most popular?
Well, there's certain programs that are high margin that really are not patient choice, right? We don't ever do trauma-based, marketing campaigns or, and we have a guy who we call the concussion doctor that really likes to talk about concussions. Unfortunately, the consumers don't really want to know a lot about that. They like it when he goes and talks to the kids in school, but they don't like it when he's studying all these resources online about concussions. So we actually try to choose those that are of interest. Patient choice is a thing I use always when I talk about that. In many cases, our destination services are patient choice driven. So cardiac services, that's something that could be a choice being made. We focus a lot of our efforts too on the physician, the referring physician, the community doctors too. Giving them that information too. They don't use social media so much, but we have that on our website to complement that because that's what they use. So yeah, it's not always, not always. The high margins aren't really the only way I slice that. I have to look at those destination services that drive choice. It's so somber. Did lunch? I thought the ukulele would help you guys. Okay, well, I'll be here all day. Oh wait, back there, one more. One more back there. Tip your waiters, try the veal.
Hi, my name is Nina. I'm from Spectrum Associates. I thank you so much for this presentation. I think that we rarely talk about ROI for social media, or it's always very vague. My question for you is, how do you measure when how can you measure your visitors to your website? That you measure how many people sign up for your newsletter, but how can you measure how those people became patients?
Became patients. That's a good question.
It's hard to find out how many of them are actually bought your services, or they went to another hospital, or
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Our CRM does that. So our CRM on the back end, it feeds in all of our financial patient information from all of our hospitals. So the CRM is kind of the financial record, so we can understand utilization, we can understand how much they paid, that sort of thing. What we have to do is when we get them to convert from social media or from on our website or wherever, we want them to give us enough unique identifying information so we can match that to our CRM database. So we can start to match those and see, we did this activity and 12 months later we saw this uptake in this particular thing. Or not. Many times we use it to course correct and say, oh, what we're doing isn't working. We want to try something else. So, and we're able to do that with every marketing campaign that goes out. So we could do direct mail, we could do an email blast, we could do this, and we can actually watch and track behavior downstream. So that's how, through a good CRM, is how you do it. One more question here, 2 more questions. Wait, one back here, someone's got the microphone. Sorry, you're next.
Hi, Abby Manning from Return on Focus. So how do you balance, I mean, you have to get enough information for them so that you can track it on the back end to your database. What, do they get something for every piece of information that they give you? Because I know that's a challenge that we always have, is these really daunting registration forms, and if they don't see the value, then people tend to walk away. So how do you balance that?
That's a good question. How do they balance that? Because people don't want to give away their address. They do trust hospitals, though. That's the thing. We're launching a new email system, and I really want to track everybody that gets into our email system by getting their address. But I know that to get an email, they just have to give you an email address. So we don't make it mandatory. What we do, though, is we encourage them to be part of it. We also put in other tools. We also use other tools where we want to give them something. We want to email them something, or there may be some areas where we give them free resources, like we'll fill out this information and we'll send you a calendar. Those tchotchkes. I don't like that so much per se, but so we try to give them as much options as we can. I can't say that I'm 100% measuring exactly every patient though. So
Are there personalized tools, like they get emails that say this is in your area?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, our new email system is going to be able to not only personalize their name and they could say I want an email once a week or once a month or what have you, and I want it on these topics. So yeah, it's all about personalization.
Hi, I'm Mary Malloy, TRB Consulting Group.
A
The other
mathematician.
math major. So what I wanted to understand is what exactly are you tracking? Are you actually tracking an email address that would go through an inquiry or take an action on the site and then move through to scheduling? Are you using it so that it's a tie-in to scheduling?
I'm measuring every point along the way.
So whatever you can measure, you are. Addresses, email addresses.
Right, and
Do you actually tie into scheduling too?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We
cool.
can measure that as well. So we measure everything. Patient doesn't always come right to your hospital from an email or from a Facebook page. They may go here, they may go here, they may go here. We try to measure everything we can. And attribution is important. Any other questions on that time? So again, I'll be here all week. Tip your waiters. And later at happy hour, I might play another ukulele song. So thank you.